What if scaling your business did not mean that you had to burn out or blend in? What if instead of obsessing over every single click, you could use creativity, fun, and some strategic conversion rate optimization to unlock that $1 million growth that you're looking for? My guest today has built, scaled, and sold multiple seven-figure businesses without losing his personality or his peace. This episode is full of real talk, genius frameworks, and a reminder that marketing should feel good. So let's get into it. Welcome back to $1 Million Marketing. If you're running ads, building funnels, or just trying to grow a business that doesn't feel like a full-time grind, today's episode is a must listen. I'm joined today by Dave Lindenbaum, a 5X 2 Comma Club award winner, a strategic advisor to 7 and 8-figure entrepreneurs, and the former founder of Get Kombucha and DIY gift kits, which he scaled from his tiny Santa Monica apartment and sold for multiple 7 figures. But here's what really stands out about Dave. He doesn't just optimize funnels. He rebuilds the mindset and the message behind them. He's a CRO wizard who uses math and heart and has created some of the most memorable marketing frameworks and campaigns that I've ever seen. So we're talking about scaling smart, selling authentically, and fighting imposter syndrome. And yes, even how to make business fun again. Dave, I'm so excited to have you here.
Yeah, me too. Wow, what an intro. Thank you.
For real, for real. Okay, so take us back. What did the early hustle look like for you, and how did it lead you to becoming the amazing CRO and great growth strategist that you are today? What was that early part like?
Yeah, so early part was I was on a trajectory of what I thought every typical, I don't know, like college kid into corporate America person was like supposed to do. Played sports, was on student council in high school. I went to school for finance, interned at Disney World, that was pretty cool, and then got a job at JP Morgan on Wall Street for about 2 years. Did like an investment banking program, and quickly realized that I did not want to be doing that for the rest of my life. Not to get into it like too much, but like um, I pretty much like asked my boss one day, like, "Hey, I'm thinking about leaving," and I thought he was going to be like, "You're making the biggest mistake of your life. Like, you're crazy." So he pulled me into his office, and I was preparing for him to be like, "I'm an idiot. As soon as I go, there's going to be hundreds of people that want this opportunity that just going to take right over." And um, just let me sure I'm still there. Yeah, and like he pulls me into his office, and instead he's like, "Close the door." I'm like, I close the door, and I'm like waiting for this, like what are you doing with your life? Instead, he's like, "You should leave as quickly as possible." And I was like, "Huh?" And what happened was he then went on for. I mean, it seemed like hours. It probably was like a 10-minute conversation, but he was like, "If you don't leave now, you're going to end up like me." And then this dude went through like his whole life of like, and it pretty much boiled down to that this whole idea of golden handcuffs of like, he's like, you'll just start making more money and then you'll start buying more things to justify your like depression and resentment. And then eventually you're going to have kids. Cause I was like, 23 at the time or something. And he's like, you're not going to want to talk to your wife. You're not going to see like, it was crazy. Like I was like, it was,
Like
it
a
was like,
therapy session for him, just like word vomit.
it was wild because this was a guy that like people looked up to, was like always like on, and like he just went. We had a pretty good relationship, but this was the first time he like went full on transparent. I got like the glimpse of like New Year's Eve or whatever the Scrooge. I'm totally butchering
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
Christmas story or whatever, but
Yeah.
I got a glimpse of my potential future. By the way, like most of my buddies are like stayed in private equity and doctors and lawyers and finance, and they're doing just fine. He could tell that I kind of had this.
Dude selling kombucha.
Yeah. I started selling hippie tea. So yeah, 2 years, kind of like bartended, went cross country America a couple times, figured my stuff out. My poor parents, letting them know, like, their like son like left investment banking to discover himself, whatever. And then I told them I'm selling this like hippie fungus tea. But this is the thing though. I still stayed with like a pretty analytical mind, and a lot of times, like, I don't, whoever's listening to this, whether they're like thinking about starting a business or growing their business or whatever the thing is, like if you actually like write out on a piece of paper, like it's, I'm sure it's still a cliche, but like pros and cons, and like literally, like especially creative people, I found they're very good at creating good things, but they're also very good at creating like completely irrational, horrific scenarios that are not reasonable and not grounded in reality. So the same superpower that like some like brilliant person might have to cast this awesome vision of the future, or a marketing headline, right? Like they also, the pendulum swings the other way, and they started coming out with these like horrible irrational fears, essentially. So I was like, okay, take 2 years off, and then I could either start a business with like $300, or I could like go back to get an MBA, which is like, I think at the time was, I don't know, making up numbers, 30 grand, maybe 50 grand. One, I will like start learning right away. And the other one, it might not even pan out. And so I was like, and then the worst that happens is I lose $300 and I learn some stuff and off to the races. All this happened because when I went cross country, this is probably, I don't know if, I'm not sure what the law is. Like if I did something illegal like 10 years ago or 20 years ago, probably now, like hopefully I can't get prosecuted, but there was this thing called Napster back in the day. I'm not sure, like, so, right. So I stole so much music. Bam, 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 bam. I stole everything.
Come home from school, my stepbrother would be at the computer like, what do you want? Like, give me your order. And I'd be like, I want all these songs. And he's like, I'll burn it for you. And I'm like, it's so bad.
Yeah, dude. Because back in the day, like a CD was like $30 at like, the Virgin Record Store, or Sam Goody or whatever. Yeah. And so when all the kids, myself included, were like torrenting like songs, I started to also torrent like Dan Kennedy. And like I started like I was like the only nerd that was like downloading like direct to consumer marketing info products. And then I went cross country. Yeah. So like I drove cross country, and like so I had like 3 weeks of like driving by myself in a car. I'm not sure if, like, I love just drive. I don't get it too often now with children and family, but like, man, I would just listen and just zone in on driving the open highway, just listening to hours and hours of like all these OG marketers and NLP and things like that. And I landed in like Los Angeles, and like I'm gonna start an online business. And it didn't even matter what it was. I figured I should pick something that I was already interested in. So yeah, little fun tip for people. Like if you are going to start something that you're interested in, with the mindset of like, I'm going to learn. Because if you're interested in something that nobody cares about or is super saturated, you might get destroyed on, but you'll still have the fuel to keep going because you're interested in it.
Right.
Yeah. And then like, obviously if you're just, into just making money, I'm sure you could just sell complete nonsense and you'll make money. But maybe the intersection, that could be good, of things that you're interested in and things that other people are interested in. That probably would be the best idea. Find that intersection. And so at the time I was making my own beer. And then I got into this thing called kombucha, which is like a fermented tea drink, which I'm sure you probably know and everybody knows now.
We actually have a 5-gallon continuous brew in the basement.
That's amazing.
The trick I have found with the kombucha for us is we use candied ginger dices in the bottom of our second.
I'm like, okay, this conversation is going to get derailed because we could go deep with kombucha brewing. I haven't heard that in a while. You look at you calling out the second ferment, candied ginger to get that secondary sugar.
I'm a hippie girl too. If you could smell me right now, I smell like patchouli. So.
Yeah, heck yeah, Jodi. Look at you with the secondary fermentation process.
Yeah. It's literally like, it's honestly, I feel like it's kind of a lazy second ferment because it's just 1/2-gallon jars, put a layer of the candied ginger dices in there, and then just some frozen fruit in there, and then just set it on the counter. Like it's so easy.
Are you
So
bottling it though
anyway,
to build carbonation at all, or?
just putting it in no, we're just keeping it in the half gallon jars.
Okay,
So
cool, cool,
I got
cool.
rid of the thingies with the flip top. It
Yeah,
was
grilled
extra.
style bottles. Yeah,
Yeah.
old school like was we used to go to Trader Joe's, get the $2 chucks, drink them. So you have a bottle of wine, and then you would use the bottle of wine emptied to fill your kombucha up, and then the cork would also act as the grilled pressure thing. So fast forward, started making my own kombucha, started realizing that there's a problem because making your own kombucha solves the problem of like spending, at the time, remember, like at the time, not that many people knew it, but this was like just like 20 years ago now. And so we have this thing in marketing, it's like solve one problem, but then have that thing that you solve create another problem type deal.
Mhm.
So I got into kombucha because it was solving my acid reflux, and it got me off of like Prilosec and all of this like acid reflux medicine. But it created another problem because gotta love our healthcare system. My insurance covered the pharmaceutical drugs, but it didn't cover the $8 a bottle at Whole Foods. And at the time, I was just in the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey, so I was like, I got to figure out how to make this stuff because $8 a bottle is more expensive than my $300 a month drugs because my insurance was covering the $10 copay or whatever. And so then I started learning how to make kombucha. This is another insight. So again, I was already knew how to make beer, and so I was already there. So a lot of times in business, you might have a skill set that's like adjacent, like a skill set adjacent, like I call it. Like, so in other words, singing and songwriting and creativity, right? So we were talking about that before we hopped on. And so, I started skill set adjacent, like started using like music videos into my marketing because I was already, and the coolest thing is when you bring in a skill set adjacent, you don't need to be that, like I am definitely not the best musician, definitely not the best singer, but you just need to be good enough for the marketing audience, not the audience of like the kids that went to Juilliard. I wasn't the greatest home beer brewer, but I was just good enough to give me a little bit of a head start on learning how to make kombucha because I already kind of had the equipment, already knew what fermentation was and things like that. So, think to yourself, like, what skill do I have that in that audience, I'm like a 6 out of 10, but I could bring into a different audience where I'm like a freaking 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that started the whole thing. I got to learn online marketing through selling something that I was already kind of interested in learning about and doing. And it's wild to think like that's what kind of like catapulted, 20 years, probably like 10 other businesses and partnerships. And now at this point, probably advised maybe 500, 7, 8 figure, 9 figure entrepreneurs, which is like nuts. Yeah.
That is nuts. That is nuts. Okay, something that you and I both know though is that marketing isn't just about the front end, right? Like about the ads, which is what I do, but it's also about what happens after the click. So what drew you into that world of like conversion optimization?
Yeah. So essentially, because it's funny, because a lot of people now in our world, they're selling info products, high ticket, maybe agency type work where the margins are pretty good. I was selling a physical product with pretty low margins. And anytime you're adding a physical product, for the most part, cost of goods sold alone will just kill a big chunk of your margins. Then you have like shipping and returns and all that stuff. And not to go back to kombucha, but like as you know, a culture will reproduce. So every time I sold to a customer, I created potential competition, and like people were selling this stuff on Craigslist and all that stuff, like, right? Like everybody started popping up. And so I had to get really, really, really good at squeezing every last drop out of traffic, essentially. Like anybody coming to my page, I really needed to make sure that I got better and better every time to essentially convert those people into sales. Though as my love of marketing, my love of conversion rate optimization has evolved. It used to be like, okay, maybe I'll change this button color, or maybe I'll change the headline, or I'll add scarcity and urgency. And now it's more about just like understanding your ideal customer better. Literally like meeting them where they're at, like showing them where they could be, where they are, and having them focus on that there is a gap and you are the person to make that gap much smaller. Like it's really so cliche, but it's really just understanding your customer more and leading them towards an understanding that they have a problem and you have a solution, and your solution is obviously through your offer, product, or service. But And then my love going back to analytics. I love this idea of that I could combine creativity of like, let me test something out. Like, I think if I wrote copy that's more storytelling, or I included a bonus, or I included this video, or I doubled the price but also tripled the value, or whatever, they added a coupon code. That's my creativity. And then I got to test it through A/B testing. So half the people that came to my page saw this version, the other half saw this version. And then I'd literally have the evidence to show that my neurotic, silly brain was actually right sometimes and we're wrong sometimes. But ultimately, you're always right. Because if you're going in with an hypothesis, not to get geeky here, but you're going in with this thing like, I think that if I do this, or I think my just to not bring it to kombucha, but like, I think my customers are really focused on pain, and I want to address them that, I work with a company that's like surgery, right? Or not avoiding surgery. So they resonated more with avoiding surgery, like avoid knee surgery, than jump 2 extra feet in the air, right? Like, because that's on their brain. Chances are a day in their life, they see their doctor and they're constantly told, if you don't take care of this, you're going to have surgery. And so that's avoiding pain, pleasure. Like, these are big, broad strokes here. And then you test it through an expression, which could be your headline, could be a testimonial. So one testimonial said, I avoided surgery. The other testimonial could be like, I'm jumping like I'm a kid again, right? And then whichever wins, you still win because you're getting a learning. And then that learning could be then applied to the next thing. And I think by nature, I'm just a curious person, but I like the idea that these hypotheses can actually be tested so I could sleep well at night knowing that I got data, rather than somebody just kind of guessing but overconfidently telling you what to do,
Yeah.
not knowing if it's going to work or not. Like, a lot of times I'm pulled in
Absolutely.
fixing people previous problems. I'm sure you're the same with your work.
Absolutely. I absolutely have that perspective of like data tells us a story. And like, if you're not going to read that story and do something about it, then what are you doing? Like, what is like, and I always want to have that like pursuit of, okay, let's test the next thing. Can we make it even better? Let's test the next, like, can we make it even better? And then I don't know, like, is there ever a point where you stop optimizing? You
No.
optimize, like, it's doing well. It's at a 2.5 ROAS. Okay, can we make it 3? Like, keep optimizing. So, okay, so once a funnel like starts converting though, like, how do you know it's ready to scale? I've actually seen people throw like 10K into ads with zero backend conversion. Ads expose what's broken. And so if something like shows promise and then, we're like ready to scale, but then it's like, how do you know? What are you optimizing first before scaling? Or is it like a thing as you go? And I know the answer to this, but I want to hear your answer.
Well, I would say I want to know your end. I mean, it really depends on the business and the economics of the business. So, like, I look at things like lifetime customer value for sure. So, in most e-commerce businesses, the game changer, and this is why like supplement companies are very big in direct to consumer, because supplements are consumable, and so there's this underlying idea of a subscription, but ultimately, the underlying thing is lifetime customer value. So you could have a very successful uh, company without selling supplements. It just needs to have a high, you just need to know your lifetime customer value and then your cost to acquire that customer. If we were just looking at like very high level math, right? Like, how much does it cost to essentially buy the customer, and when do we get our money back and profit, and so on and so forth.
Yep. Yep. I literally just had a sales call with somebody a week ago, supplement company. And that was exactly what I was focused on with them. Is like, how much can you afford to spend to acquire a new customer, and how big of a LTV can we get with them? Like, how can we retain them, make sure that they stay? So it's still on the pipeline. If you're watching,
Yeah. And then if we really want to get geeked out, like, I mean, God, I've grown so much over, I mean, even the last couple of years. Then you look at the like finances of a business with cash flow and balance sheets. Like, what's really interesting? I left like finance, JP Morgan, corporate America, to like not do the stuff that and now, like, as your business actually grows to a certain level of success, it kind of does a full circle back to looking at balance sheets, looking at finances. But like, getting really good at marketing is kind of a superpower. It really does Listen, if you have a horrible product, horrible customer experience, you don't get results, like you can't outmarket a bad product, bad experience, bad customer. Well, but it does a lot. If I had to like learn one skill, whatever, I would definitely choose the marketing over the finance for most people. And I'm saying most people because unless you are a startup that just raised tens of millions of dollars, or you got a rich uncle that doesn't care about his money, like for the typical entrepreneur that wants to make a couple $100,000 in their pocket, like after taxes, all that stuff, like every year to just live whatever they want, that's who I'm speaking to. Like like marketing is kind of that superpower, but yeah, but like getting to the weeds of this is like the fun I love to do, because it combines interaction with people and really meeting people, not just the business. I love to know the business owner, because the business owner, again, different people will have different philosophies. People will say, well, the business owner should not be the business and but like, I've when you want to sell the business, sure, but like in the stage of like where most people are at least the calls, even people that are doing millions a year, it's so important that I understand the operators of the business and what their tendencies are. So going back with the supplement thing, you might actually in the beginning want to focus on bundling and not forcing subscription, because you'll be able to get your cash flow up front, and it might lead to a lower lifetime value, but the compresses the time, right? It's this idea like, well, do you want $1,000 over the course of a year, or do you want $500 today? And so, yeah. So anyway, that gets more into like the intricacies and stuff like that. But and then in terms of scaling, all these things come into play. The last thing comes into play is not every business should be scaled. Like if tripling my business means growing my bottom line profit by 10%, but in order to triple my business, I need to open up a second warehouse, or I need to bring on 10 more coaches that I have to train, or people to do ads for, and then learning the skill set of management. Like, yeah, maybe it doesn't make sense to scale. So I think it's really, the question is scaling what? And usually people think of scaling top line, but scaling top line most likely associates with also scaling deliverability, scaling headaches, scaling volatility, scaling your team. And so, yeah.
Quote our friend Alex Sharfin, your business is broken. And he says, and if you're lucky, it always will be. Like,
Yeah.
there's always something that's going to be broken.
That you did not quote him. That's not what he said. He said, your business is broken. Sorry. Love you, Alex. And here's the thing. If you're lucky, it always will be. Hyperhydrate. Hyperhydrate, for sure.
That's so funny. A drink to Alex.
All right.
Okay. One of my favorite things about you, though, speaking of like talking like Alex and being silly, is that you bring fun and weirdness in the best way. Is there like, why is fun so it's like a strategic advantage, but it's not like you're not intentionally doing it to be like, haha, I got you because I'm funny. But like there is an advantage in like showing up. I think it's more about authenticity than anything, really, like showing up as your authentic self in your marketing.
Yeah. I would, well, thank you, by the way. I would say showing up as your authentic self, not just in your marketing, but in your life, like not to get all, Wayne Dyer or something like that. But like, I would say that actually my, let's call it enthusiasm, silliness, ridiculousness, probably. I probably have injected less in my marketing, though I do have some, like, I did write a rap song on hot sauce making kits and unboxing sorry, it's in context. So the kombucha company was like just my first of very many companies. And I realized like there was a niche on like kits, like do it yourself kits. And so our products became very popular for around the holidays. DIY gift kits was the big brand. And so I did something called gift wrapping, but I play on words because, yeah, with a little W and then wrapping, RAPPING.
Yeah.
And so yes, I did infuse like that, some of that stuff in my actual businesses, like front of stage, let's call it. But I would say my biggest ROI has been my ridiculousness in terms of like backstage, like masterminds that I've been part of, personal relationships like with you and other people in our community. That has been like the greatest ROI.
Yeah.
And so, I'm not sure if there was a question there. I have some.
I don't know. I mean, it makes you memorable,
Mm.
and it makes the connection, it like people kind of gravitate towards wanting to know you or like hang out with you because you're fun and you're memorable and things like that. So I think some people can get stuck in that professional mode, and they have to be like too prim and proper and like put their best foot forward, and it like I think it's important for people to just be their authentic true self and not and I think you still can do that without losing credibility. Like, you can still be fun and weird and silly and also credible.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and to your point, like I don't know if it's a conscious strategy, like going back to this idea of like, what are you decent at outside of the marketing community that you could bring into this community that like you like, holy cow. So like I was already into like, I had a band in college performing and naturally like to have fun with people
Mhm.
and geek out though on concepts and make money and share like ways I make money and see how I can help other people make money. And then also like being authentic for sure. And also if I'm being very honest, like I truly like I get it's not like I want people to like me. I get joy out of seeing what happens when people, I don't know, let their guard down a little bit. And so
Mm.
I don't mind going first because that's naturally, but I really do get a like it I don't know how to like I get a joy getting a rise out of people, but not in like uh, I'm not sure. I guess giving people permission to be more of who they are by me going first, I guess. I don't
Love that. I'm always okay with like going first, making a fool out of myself, right? And like, and it literally gives permission to other people to, if I can do that, you can do it too. Like, come on, join me. Like, get a little silly, let your guard down. That's super awesome. Actually, I want to segue into my next question, which is like you've had some really big wins. You've done some really cool stuff. You make a lot of big moves. You're working with amazing people, but you've also been open about imposter syndrome and some mental struggles and things like that. So how do you stay grounded, and how do you kind of fight that off while you're scaling, while you're in this like expertise mode? How do you balance all of that?
Yeah, so I'm grateful for my imposter syndrome because I think it caused me to like actually not, yeah, I guess work harder and quite frankly become obsessed at delivering. I got this like I'm not sure if you ever geeked out on like personality assessments at all.
100%.
Ooh, all right. Shout out to Understand on Me. Then I'm not sure if you saw Understand on Me, but it's amazing. It's like the LinkedIn of personality assessments. So it like houses all of your
Okay.
personality assessments. So if you go to like understand.me/Lindenbaum, you'll see like all my assessments in one place and like a cool little profile and all that stuff. And it's free to join. Full disclosure, it's my business with Russell Brunson. So I'm a partner in that business. So just I'm plugging it, of course, but it is really awesome.
No, it's totally cool. I'm gonna do it because I'm obsessed with understanding people and personal growth and like understanding myself and what drives me and what makes me like shrink back. Like that I don't know. I have this huge desire for all of that. I'm totally gonna do that. But your
Yeah.
turn.
So like yeah, like a thirst of learning. So yeah, I had this mix of like high freedom, but also like a high achiever type deal. And so I'm grateful for even that type of stuff because it forced me to just get better. Um, and I think that's why I gravitated towards conversion rate optimization and running split tests to show that my like you said something very nice that like I could be this like, silly, ridiculous person and still be an actual expert that like, get results, whether that's, more sales, more profit, higher conversion rates, whatever the thing is. Right. And so, that's why I think I gravitated towards CRO because you have, evidence, I guess, right. That, oh, this worked or this didn't work or I got a learning or whatever. And I think I really owe a lot to the first, high level mastermind I joined because when I got into that room, and Russell Babyface Brunson talks about this in Expert Secrets, best nickname ever, right? Um,
It's so funny because it's true.
yeah. He says like your superpower is so close to you, you don't even know that's the thing. And so I joined like Inner Circle thinking that everybody that joined, this was like, this was like 9 years ago or whatever, 10 years ago, like a while back, that everybody there is like a master funnel builder and marketing guy and advertising person. And I get there and it's like there was a few of us. Like Hermosi was there. It's like a couple of like people that were like into that, but most of them just had great businesses, and they joined this mastermind to get good at marketing and build funnels like that. And then at the time, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then I was like, well, I'm selling like kombucha kits. I have nothing to do with like 99% of the people here that were, courses and expert stuff. But I knew how to build funnels. I knew how to squeeze every last drop out of something because I needed to make it work on like my thin margin stuff. And I just started just being silly. And I think, so getting back to your question, surrounding yourself with people that see your skill set. Now, this could be one facet, right? Because we're all multi-dimensional, but let's call it in the in your professional or whatever your see your superpower in a way that's greater than you see it in yourself. Mm. Being in an opportunity where you could express, and not only express it or invited to, but you're celebrated to express whatever that is. So again, in the business context, like Allison Prince was really good at social media marketing. I knew nothing about that. And so like to her, it was just like, oh yeah, you post this here, this, we can do a video of this. I'm like, my jaw just dropped. So this idea of like, it's just like any relationship, right? Like in a marriage, like you hear like, it's not 50-50, it's 100 or something like that. Right.
Yep.
And so,
yep. Or like today I'm 90. I just need your 10. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And finding, so it's again, this isn't for everybody, but the way that I attribute a lot of my success and how I was able to, in spite of my weaknesses of imposter syndrome, not just overcome it, but like thrive in it, is find other people where they see your superpower and you have the opportunity then to go all in on that. You're invited to, you're celebrated to, you're acknowledged at it, where you have it would be unreasonable, going back to the evidence of whether you spend $300 to learn stuff or $50,000 for an MBA, like bringing it back down to reason, and just look at the evidence.
Interesting. Okay. Do you ever, this is not a question on my thing, like a prepped question at all, but have you ever, because I like literally have never regretted going all in on myself, like taking a bet on myself. Every time I do it, it works. Right. And I feel like that path of $300 versus $30,000 MBA was like, I'm going to go in on Dave. I'm going to do that. I'm going to bet on myself. Do you feel that at all? That was what hit for me. I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. Like, I'm always willing to take a bet on myself. I did that a couple of weeks ago. I joined Josh Forty's program, and that was big. And that was me going in on myself for the next commitment. And I don't know. It just made me think of that. How about you? Like, have you ever regretted like going all in on yourself?
I don't think so. No. No, definitely not. Though I will say that usually me going all in on myself is through the encouragement of someone else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Or that community, the other people, like borrowing belief from others.
Yeah.
In order to fully step into your potential. Yeah. I totally didn't mean that in like an arrogant way. I meant that in like, I also need other people to see that in me, the things that I don't always see in me, in order to have that belief, in order to go all in on myself. Yeah. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and talking about like, we've talked about the imposter syndrome and things, faith, family. You've said that you're still kind of trying to figure that out. And same here, right? Like it's always something that I'm in pursuit of being better every day. So I'm sure those values show up in your business as well. Yeah. So I don't know if you want to touch on that. We're running short on time. Otherwise we can move on to something else.
Yeah, we can move on for something else. Faith is definitely something that I'm still chipping away at, for sure.
Yeah, it's a pursuit. Like I don't know. There's like a final end. Like I've arrived until we've actually arrived. Okay, I'm gonna let's dive into like some quick rapid fire in our last little bit of time here. So,
let's go.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, what's one CRO tweak that can lift conversions fast? Like something that works like every time. You're like, that was it.
Magic stinking bullet. You ready for this? Works every time. Survey your audience. It's so stinking simple, but nobody does it. Survey them. And don't just survey why didn't you buy. Survey the people that did buy. Why did you buy? And then survey the people that did buy and say, why did you almost not buy? Because for every person that almost not bought, but bought anyway, there's 5 to 10 times as many people that had the same reason why they almost didn't buy, but also didn't buy because of it. Does that make sense?
Right. Yes. Yep. And then you figure out like what is it that your messaging is missing? What is it that's missing that they
Exactly.
needed to hear in order to be able to
Yeah,
buy?
let your customers tell you what to split test, what to optimize, what to, in ARC method, add, remove, or change, right? So you could either, that's it. That's all you can do to your funnel, right? You could either add something like add a section, add a headline, add an image, remove a section, remove a headline, or change it, swap it out. And just like asking your people. And most times,
some really good ideas for this. Go ahead.
yeah. Most of the time, people don't survey at all. The ones that do, they survey why didn't you buy, and then, but we're not focusing on the people that did. These are the people that bought. Like you should double down, like lean into those people, but just don't ask them why they did buy. Ask them why they almost not bought. And does that make sense? Well, I bought anyway. A quick example, right? On our page, we ask people, they bought. How was your experience? 1 to 5. If they give it a 1 or a 2 or a 3, that's a quantitative question, number question. You could segment based off of that in that survey. They gave it a 1, 2, or 3. They get asked a different secondary question that's open-ended than if they gave it a 4 or 5. If they gave it a 4 or 5, then they already had a good experience. You could say what, desire, why did you buy, these reasons of yes. If they gave 1, 2, or 3, oh no, what could we have done better? And a lot of times, what could you have done better? This is the other thing too. No ego, right? You are you're looking at your website as a business owner or a marketer or a funnel builder or a copywriter or whatever. You're not viewing it as a customer. It's impossible, but try your best to, because you have seen your page 1,000 times. They have seen your page probably never. Or if they've seen it 10 times, they only remember 2 times because they're stalking their ex-boyfriend or girlfriend on Facebook. They see this crazy ad. They think about clicking into it. Then the light turns red or blue or green or orange, whatever. And they keep driving and then they get a retargeting ad. They're like, oh, I kind of remember this, but maybe it was one of the other 5 different offers in real estate that everybody's doing. You know what I mean? And so don't assume that they know all this stuff. In case, most of our customers said we didn't see the ingredients that are in this supplement, right? Me as the marketer is like, what are you talking about? We have the ingredients right here. Scroll down in the right-hand corner, click the FAQs, what are the ingredients, and open the box and it shows the ingredients. But if a tree falls in the woods and nobody hears it, right? And so if somebody experiences your page and they're telling you, look, they bought, but they're telling you that they didn't see the ingredients. So are the ingredients there? No, the ingredients are not there. So then as a split test, let's take our pixie dust of ingredients and sprinkle it all over the page. So it's impossible to miss. How do we express it? This is where split test comes in. Put it on the image, the product image. Write a whole section. Our ingredient, why 10,000 moms love our ingredients over others, or whatever the thing is, and talk about each ingredient. Make the ingredients higher up in the FAQ. So instead of the 10th FAQ, make it the first FAQ. Have a testimonial talking about the ingredients to really push forward into it. Because for every person that, I get super passionate about this stuff. For every person that bought and said they didn't see the ingredients, there's 10 times. And so why? But if you just survey the people that didn't buy and say, why didn't you buy? You're going to get 1,000 different stories. But if the ingredients was already on that segment of audience that were going to buy, they just need that little extra push or confirmation. It's literally gold. Okay, I know this is rapid fire, so I'm just talking as fast as I can to give as much value as possible. But we can go to the next question.
Okay, next rapid fire question. What's the worst marketing advice you've ever heard?
Man, gosh, that's crazy because I'm a pretty optimistic person by default. So I don't even know. I wouldn't even know where to begin. What's your worst marketing advice?
I guess it's a really terrible question. I should have pulled it out. Like, man.
No, it's great. I wouldn't even know marketing. Gosh, I don't know.
I feel like it's hard to retain stuff like that because it's like, if I hear it, I'm like, that's not true.
Yeah, I filter it out. I'd have to really dig deep. I'm sure there's like a whole bunch, but yeah.
Probably. Those are the notes I don't take. So
yeah.
What's one faith-based principle that helps you lead your business well?
I'm not sure if this is faith-based, but treat other people how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
At the end of at the end of the day, you want to go to bed and sleep easy. And if roles were reversed, the nice thing is that, I've owned and still own multiple businesses. And I've also done agency or freelancer type work. And so I think I have some empathy on both sides of the coin there. And I always try to make things win-win the best I can. And yeah, so treat people how you want to be treated.
What would you say to your younger self pre-kombucha empire?
Ooh, probably it's all going to work out. Oh, don't feel guilty, I guess. I felt a little bit of guilt, because my parents were pretty traditional. I mean, everything worked out, and document more. I did document. I was one of the first people on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and type in like kombucha Dave Lindenbaum or kombucha Dave, whatever, like you'll see like 100 videos of me with doing my little like 3-minute kombucha videos. But I wish I did more like marketing documentation for marketers, because my true audience that I want to serve are marketers. I loved kombucha people. So I did a bunch of videos for that, but I wish I would have documented the process more, the journey more. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, I know we are out of time. So Dave, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time to come on here and have this conversation. It was a really great mix of strategy and soul. It's straight up gold for anybody. Wait, it was Dave. Wait, golden showers? Does that ring a bell?
That rings a bell, but we can't. I was trying to come up with a name that was ridiculously inappropriate for Russell to say, but he might not understand the double context of it. And the idea was that, as you know, I talk very fast and I try to give as much gold as possible to shower the people with gold. So that's
shower the people with gold.
Yes.
Okay, but for anybody trying to scale without selling out, that's what we're talking about here. And I've loved hearing how you've built and optimized and sold businesses while staying true to who you are, and of course having fun along the way. So to our listeners, if this episode sparked something for you, whether it's a funnel that you need to fix or a message that you want to make more human or a funnel that you want to optimize, this is your reminder to build a business that doesn't burn you out. Screenshot this episode, tag us on Instagram. You can tag at Jodi Sodini, and you can tell me your biggest takeaway. I would love to hear from you. And hey, if you've been dumping ad spend into a funnel that's leaking or missing conversions, you already know the ads are not going to fix what's broken. That's what this show has been about. So I want you to subscribe, share, and come back next week, because we've got more for you on the $1 Million Marketing Podcast and more $1 Million Marketing conversions coming your way. So thanks for listening. And as always, keep marketing with heart, data, and a little bit of weird. Okay.
And scene.